My name is Captain Evelyn Cross, and at 46, I've survived 3 combat deployments, led soldiers through hell, and carried the weight of command across battlefields most Americans couldn't pronounce. I've written condolence letters at 3 a.m., held dying soldiers in my arms, and made decisions that saved lives and cost others. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the war that would unfold in a sterile California courtroom, where my own flesh and blood would try to erase 22 years of service with a single, venomous lie. The day it all exploded, I sat in the defendant's chair wearing my dress blues, every ribbon earned, every medal paid for in blood and sleepless nights. Across from me sat my older brother Marcus, his $3,000 suit immaculate, his Harvard law degree gleaming in his predatory smile. Beside him, our mother Eleanor clutched her pearls like a rosary, her face a mask of practiced grief. And there was Dany, my youngest brother, hunched in the gallery like he was trying to disappear into the wooden pew. His eyes met mine once, just once, and in that fleeting moment, I saw something that looked like regret. The inheritance that started this nightmare seemed simple enough: Dad's weathered beach house in Big Sur, perched on cliffs that had watched over our childhood like stone sentinels, 3 bedrooms, salt-stained windows, and a porch that creaked with 30 years of family memories. It wasn't the Ritz, just a modest retreat where Dad went to paint watercolors and forget about the corporate empire he'd built. When the lawyer read the will, the division seemed fair. Marcus inherited the family business, Cross Hospitality Group, the hotel chain he'd been grooming to run since college. Dany received a trust fund that would keep him comfortable for life. I got the house, that was it. Clean, simple, final. But simple was never Marcus's style. The first challenge came wrapped in legal letterhead and delivered with surgical precision. They weren't just contesting the will, they were challenging my very identity. The lawsuit claimed I had manipulated our terminally ill father, forged military documents, and fraudulently influenced the estate distribution. Each page was another assassination attempt on my character, another way of calling me a con artist in uniform. The cruelest cut was the central accusation, that I had fabricated portions of my military service to gain sympathy from Dad during his final months. 22 years of service reduced to an elaborate lie. Kandahar, where shrapnel tore through my shoulder. Fallujah, where I lost 3 soldiers in a single night. Baghdad, where I earned my Silver Star pulling wounded civilians from a burning building, all dismissed as fiction. I read the lawsuit 3 times at my kitchen table, the same table where Dad used to spread his maps and plan our family road trips. My coffee grew cold as I absorbed each accusation. They weren't just trying to take the house, they were trying to erase me entirely. The investigation I launched was methodical, military in its precision. I contacted the Department of Defense, requesting complete service records. I reached out to former commanders, unit leaders, soldiers who had served under me, box by box. I assembled an archive of my military life, deployment orders, commendation letters, injury reports, performance evaluations. But something was wrong. Digital inconsistencies plagued my files, dates that didn't align, entries that had been altered, gaps that shouldn't exist. Someone with serious technical skills had been tampering with my records, making subtle changes designed to raise questions about my service without triggering obvious red flags. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A text message appeared on my phone at midnight. Pier 9. Tomorrow. Come alone. D. Dany stood at the edge of the pier like a man preparing to jump, hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets, shoulders hunched against the ocean wind. When he saw me approaching, he pulled out a flash drive with trembling fingers. "I couldn't watch them do this to you anymore," he whispered, pressing it into my palm. "I'm sorry, Evelyn. I'm so goddamn sorry." What I found on that drive nearly stopped my heart. Months of emails between Marcus and our mother, detailing their plan with corporate precision. They had hired a private cybersecurity firm to alter my military records, creating just enough inconsistency to support their fraud claims. They had established fake charitable accounts in my name, funneling money to create a pattern of financial misconduct. They had even drafted press releases, ready to destroy my reputation the moment the lawsuit went public. The most damning evidence was a recorded phone call between Marcus and a forger, discussing falsified amendments to Dad's will. They had planned to backdated new documents that would have given Marcus the house, leaving me with nothing but a trust fund designed to keep me quiet. This wasn't a family dispute. This was a coordinated attack, planned and executed with the kind of ruthless efficiency Marcus had learned in business school. The courtroom was packed on the day of reckoning. Local reporters filled the back rows, drawn by whispers of a military scandal. Marcus sat at the plaintiff's table like he owned the place, his legal team arranged around him like bodyguards. Our mother perched beside him, every inch the grieving widow, her black dress perfectly pressed. When Marcus stood to address the court, his voice carried the kind of authority that had made him millions in the hospitality industry. He spoke of family honor, of a dying father manipulated by a troubled daughter who had used her questionable military service to gain undeserved sympathy. "Your Honor," he said, his voice trembling with practiced emotion, "my sister has built her entire identity on lies. We have evidence that she fabricated key portions of her service record, that she exploited our father's illness for financial gain, and that she has consistently deceived everyone who trusted her." The courtroom hung on every word. I watched faces in the gallery turn toward me, measuring, judging, already convicting me in their minds. And then Marcus delivered his killing blow. "She is not a real veteran, Your Honor. She is a fraud who has dishonored the uniform and betrayed the trust of everyone who believed in her." The silence that followed was absolute. I felt every eye in the room boring into me, waiting for my response, my defense, my desperate attempt to salvage what was left of my reputation. Instead, I stood and walked calmly to my briefcase. I withdrew the manila folder Dany had given me, the one containing every email, every financial record, every piece of evidence of their conspiracy. Without a word, I placed it before the judge. His reaction was immediate and terrifying. Color drained from his face as he read the first page, his jaw clenched as he flipped to the second. By the third page, his entire demeanor had transformed. "Nobody moves," he said, his voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade. "Bailiff, seal the doors, now." Before anyone could process what was happening, the side doors opened and two military police officers entered, their uniforms crisp, their expressions unreadable. One positioned himself by the main entrance while the other approached the bench to receive whispered instructions from the judge. Marcus tried to stand, tried to object, but his voice died in his throat. His lawyer's papers scattered as the man's hands began to shake. Our mother gripped her chair like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "This court is now in possession of evidence suggesting federal crimes have been committed," the judge announced, his voice echoing through the suddenly airless room. "Fraud, forgery, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice related to military service records and estate fraud. The civil proceedings are hereby suspended pending criminal investigation." I didn't turn to look at Marcus. I didn't need to. I could hear his world collapsing behind me, the sharp intake of breath, the whispered panic between him and his lawyers, the sound of a man realizing that his perfect plan had just become his perfect downfall. The investigation moved with federal efficiency. Within weeks, charges were filed against Marcus and our mother. The local newspapers that had once featured Marcus on their business pages now ran his mugshot. The society columns that had celebrated our mother's charity work now detailed her role in defrauding military veterans. Dany visited me at the beach house a month later. We sat on the porch Dad had built with his own hands, watching the sunset paint the Pacific in shades of fire and gold. "Do you think he knew?" Dany asked quietly. "Dad, I mean, do you think he knew what they were planning?" I considered the question while seagulls wheeled overhead. "I think he knew exactly who we all were," I said finally. "That's why he left the house to me. Not because I was his favorite, but because he knew I was the only one who would fight to keep it." The legal proceedings stretched on for months, but the outcome was never in doubt. Marcus was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for fraud and conspiracy. Our mother received 3 years and was ordered to pay restitution to the military charities they had defrauded. Their names, once synonymous with success and philanthropy, became cautionary tales whispered at country club luncheons. I kept the house, of course. I renovated the kitchen, replaced the weathered deck boards, and planted a garden where Dad used to set up his easel. Some evenings, I sit on the porch with a glass of wine and listen to the waves crash against the cliffs below. Dany still visits sometimes. We don't talk about the trial anymore, don't rehash the family drama that tore us apart and put 2 of our own behind bars. Instead, we talk about Dad's paintings, about the sunset, about anything except the war that nearly destroyed us all. Because in the end, that's what it was, a war fought not with bullets and bombs, but with lies and legal documents, with family loyalty weaponized against family love. They thought they could defeat me with accusations and altered records, thought they could make me disappear like an inconvenient memory. But they forgot something crucial. I wasn't just their sister or daughter, I was a soldier, trained in 100 different ways to fight and survive and win, and this battle, fought in courtrooms instead of combat zones, was one I was always destined to win. The house still creaks in the ocean wind, the sunset still paints the walls gold every evening, and I'm still here, still standing, still serving, not my country this time, but something more precious, the truth. Some wars leave scars you can see, Others leave something more valuable, the quiet satisfaction of knowing that when everything was stripped away, family, trust, the very foundation of who you thought you were, you found the strength to stand alone. And sometimes, that's enough. Sometimes, it's everything.